Imagine this. You boot up the first level of a video game only to notice it's nothing more than a flat plane of water and stone. You obviously walk into the goal. It's a video game, that's all you gotta do. Only to realize that when you do, there's a leaderboard and somehow you're all the way in 9,000th place. All you did was walk forward towards the goal, but somehow it's not fast enough. This is what Neon White is all about. Neon White is an odd little game that released about 2 years ago now. I actually found this game around the early periods of its marketing. And even though I had no idea what the game was really about, I was still eagerly waiting for its release, and it really did live up to the expectations I had at the time. This game holds every bit of what makes a game amazing, and takes it miles and miles ahead of a lot of other games. The level design, the sets of the levels, which is still level design I guess, and the aesthetics of the overall worlds really hold it together and really mend it together into making such a great little package. It's got everything. It holds a special place as an extremely unique type of game for one major reason. It's all about going fast. What else is there? I don't mean in the Sonic way either, where you... I mean a real way, where you're trying to beat the clock every single level. It's literally in the plot of the game, you know? But I need to explain the game first before we get into all that. Neon White takes place completely in heaven. The cast is made up of dead people given a second chance in heaven by killing demons. They're given a fancy mask shape to their personality, resembling animals mostly. That'll explode if it's taken off, so they just have to do what they're told. This whole game is pretty much a competition, because hell is filled up with these little demon guys. These little fellows are demons. We gotta get rid of them. Whoever gets rid of the most wins, and whoever wins gets to stay in actual heaven. They get to party it up, they get to live it up. That's really the general basis of the plot. You could say it's a battle royale, almost like Fortnite, without a battle pass. And with that, it's time to actually get to the real battling of the game. The game's combat is all FPS, but it falls under a strange category where it's less about the guns and aiming, and more about just using it correctly. Everything is in a series of levels that are full of enemies. Like most video games, sure, but you have to take out every single enemy to actually complete the level. In our case, as I said, little blob guys. They all come in different colors, shapes, and sizes. Now for weapons, they come as these little action cards, which not only work as guns, but as action abilities, all color-coded with the enemies that drop them as well. For example, your pistol is just a normal pistol that gives you a jump ability. The thing is, once you use the ability, you lose the card, you're sacrificing it. There's also an ammo counter, which ammo can be picked up, but it's still only a single clip of ammo in the gun. Maybe even less sometimes, it depends on the gun, honestly. You unlock guns progressively in a way where they just show up in the level. Another example is just the sniper, which works as powerful as a couple of shots, but also works as a dash mechanic. Similarly, the shotgun offers the most up-close damage, and works as a sort of targeted fireball dash. You know, like a shotgun does, you know, up close. These cards are what makes the level more like a large puzzle rather than a run and gun type of Doom boomer shooter type of game. A lot of this game is also about platforming, jumping, making sure you shoot the right enemies before the other, you know, there's an order to things. When you really get into it, you sort of just flow and you get locked in, like you're playing Spy Kids 3D, you get sucked into the game, it sucks you right in. The game really makes you feel like you're a man fighting for his life, even, I mean, you technically are, you're fighting for your life to be in heaven, so I guess you are fighting for your life. Another important part of this game, just besides the levels, is about the shortcuts in the level. The levels have a specific time on them, probably like a developer time most of the time, but they give you certain medals. I think it's diamond, gold, silver, bronze, but these different medals actually unlock parts of the level, so you keep replaying it and get more of it. There's also a course leaderboard, and the course leaderboard also has a friends leaderboard, and this is the whole world, so you can see how much of a loser you are, I guess. A good way to think about this whole game is each level being a segment in a larger speedrun. Each level can be as long as like a star in Mario 64 if you're speedrunning it. Some of these levels are only about 5 seconds for some people who are better than me, of course, but for your normal guy, it's only 1 to 2 minutes long. A lot of the more obvious shortcuts get this little inside eye within the game once you get a better score on the level, because it's very possible to beat the bar time of the level without a shortcut at all. Another part of a level's replayability lies in the color-coded gifts around the map. This is a part of the story, and the colors are related to each character in the story. All the other neons around you, yellow, violet, red, they're all named after colors. Besides for 2. There's only 2 characters not named after colors. Getting these gifts and giving these gifts to your companions unlock more story to figure out who these people are, but also to unlock specific levels themed around the characters. A lot of these gifts can be kind of hard to find, but you know, it gives you a chance to explore the level instead of just running it fast. It's all about replayability. Another big thing about this game is about the soundtrack. Obviously, a lot of indie games, this isn't really indie. I don't even, what the fuck even is indie anymore? This company's like pretty good size. But the soundtrack is like electronic, jungle, EDM. I'm not Anthony Fantano. I don't know what to call it. But the artist is Machine Girl. Very popular EDM artist. I'm just going to use EDM. Very talented artist. Very good music. I have listened to him before outside of the soundtrack, and they're close to your Aphex Twins of the world. See, that's an EDM artist. Every single piece of music from the game is just on Spotify, I think, or just every music service. It's just there. It's like, you know, it's a video game soundtrack. That's kind of what they do. Now the story talk is over. There's no more story. I'm not going to mention the story ever again. I never did. So why would I ever mention it again? The rest of the video is all about gameplay and specific levels. I think this game has a lot of standout levels that really tie it together. All the structure of the game fits together in my head well, like a big puzzle, because of the speed. It's all fast, but you still gotta be so precise. Now, not all of the levels require a crazy amount of thinking anyway. I honestly think a lot of them sort of play on instinct, kind of just the way that you'd rather fail rather than you want to succeed when you're doing something. For an example, there are these enemies later on. I'll call them mimics. I'm sure they have an actual name. You know, Dark Souls, mimic chest, fantasy game, whatever. In this game, they're fairly obvious what they are. You know, they don't look like a chest that much. But because the game's all about playing quick, you often end up in scenarios where the level starts, you go get your card, you go through a bunch of enemies, and you go around a corner, and you shoot it. You realize it's not a real chest, it's a mimic chest, and you die. There's only 2 enemies in the game that can kill you in one shot. These little squeeze toy head guys with like big eyeballs that pop out cartoon style when you get close to them, and these little mimic chests, both used very often, scattered around everywhere. You know, very, 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 very annoying. The mimics more than the heads. The heads are kind of useless. The mimic chests are usually for little traps, maybe in a little goof or a gaff here and there, you know, just scatter them around. I think the best usage for the mimics is this level where you get the fireball card. It's not the first level with the fireball card, it's just the main card of the level. And the point of the level is to go into a bunch of chests and enemies for ammo, and there's these mimics everywhere, and when you shoot these mimics, they will hit a bunch of different enemies in the level. It's like a chain thing. You shoot one, it shoots another, it shoots another, it shoots another. But some of these chests have ammo, and others are mimics. So, you know, it's gonna flip it on your head. You know, you shoot one, ammo, shoot another, it's a mimic. And since the mimics are shooting a projectile, every projectile in this game can break like these big red doors that are used to block off your path. And it just breaks objects in the level in general. And there's red doors, red panels, red little wooden things. That's the main thing. It's just an example on how every single enemy in the level is placed in a specific spot for a specific reason, all, you know, to make it come together. Like a well-oiled machine, it just runs, and everything has its little purpose on the little planet. I turned into a hippie there for a second. The levels also tend to vary in difficulty, obviously. Some being more just about locking in and focusing on what's going on, and others being more like a fun platformer with a couple of enemies. Some other popular mechanics are these little aqueduct things, very, very important for the speed run. You know, the water makes you faster. When you run on the water, it makes you faster. It speeds you up, get these little speed lines on your screen. Since water in the game speeds you up, I just said that, it'll often be used as a rail shooter fashion. You know, they use that a lot. You have a rail shooter, you're going straight, and you're shooting at enemies that are near you. Usually with the Purify card. I think they do this 3 times. In the Purify card, which I'll say later, I'll talk about later, you know, shoots a grenade. It shoots a grenade out of it. It's a grenade launcher. All the cards are introduced slowly over time and are swapped pretty frequently. You don't really use that many back-to-back like that. Only another exception. There's like a whole set of levels where you use the same one. All levels start with a default card. The katana. It only has 30 slashes. It breaks. Very bad katana. It can also deflect bullets. Very important. But once you break the katana, you can break the katana. As I said, very bad. You swap to your fist, and then when you swap out the fist, you just die. I don't even know how that even happened to you, to be honest. Really, I just don't. The Purify card, which I already mentioned, shoots a sticky grenade. It is sticky, has a large radius, and will take out a big group of enemies. Most of the time, that is what it's used for. A lot of the railgun segments, as I said, used a lot to take out the big groups of enemies. The card drops from these purple demons, which shoot the projectile of the weapon. FNAF reference. I don't know what that means. I wrote that down. I don't know what that means. The Purify card, I think, just off the top of the dome, I think it has 30 ammo. You get a lot of them. I think it stacks. The ammo stacks forever. I think it maxes out like 156 for some of these guns. I think some of the times it maxes out at 12. It just depends on what the gun is. The Elevate card is just your standard pistol. The ability allows you to jump in the game, and usually the game uses 2 back-to-back just to make you have a double jump, or uses it with the Purify card or the Godspeed card. It's like a flip. They flip it. That's usually what you're going to be using it with. Sometimes even the Stomp. The Godspeed card is a high damage, low ammo rifle. It does a forward dash and it goes forward from the exact location that you are using, and has a little maneuverability and cannot go up or down. There's no upward movement, there is no downward movement, it's straight. A lot of the times when you're using the Godspeed card, it is to cut through a bunch of enemies like a knife, or to cut through like wooden panels and doors. But it is unstoppable. There is nothing that can stop you. I still think you can be shot through the dash. Stomp is a low damage but close range high ammo submachine gun. Allows you to do a little Mario ground pound without, jumping, but you should jump, I guess. It literally is what it does. It stomps. There's nothing more, nothing less. There's no range on the stomp, so once it's used, it'll go until something breaks or fall off the map. Or as I said, wooden panels, it'll break or fall. There's actually some times in the game that'll have you hot swapping between other weapons and the stomp to try and trick you to stomp yourself off the map. A little trick. A little goof, little gaff. Next is another card I already explained. The Fireball card. It's just your basic shotgun. I already said this before. High spread, low ammo. But this card has the ability to send you in any direction you're looking, as it's a damaging fireball. It's a big fireball. Similar to the Godspeed card, it breaks walls, glass, doors, whatever, as well as enemies. A lot of the levels with this chain it together with another fireball to go longer distances, and if you shoot the fireball at the ground, like towards the platform, it'll make you go very fast, pretty much just as fast as using a Godspeed straight on. Dominion is the last weapon card in the game. Last one you ever get, besides for one more, but it's not really like a weapon. Unless you call knowledge a weapon, I guess. The last weapon is a rocket launcher. The card is called Dominion. Already said that. Why am I repeating myself? It is a grapple hook and a rocket launcher. Same time, you have a little grapple mechanic. It shows you a little green dot, and if you're in range, you'll be able to grapple to anything that's in range of it. The rocket jumping works exactly like TF2. You just point it towards the ground and you jump. Actually, there's no jump. You just point it towards the ground. And or a wall. Ground, wall. Doesn't matter. The weapon mostly gets its shine in the final 2 or 3 chapters of the game, and honestly, from some of the speedrunning levels I've seen, it has a lot of potential for skipping due to the rocket boost, mainly. You can really boost yourself around and skip everything. It might be a sort of brain melt I have, but a lot of these weapons do remind me of TF2 traits, but I think every game is just TF2 at this point. It all just mends together sometime. The last card in the game, which I've mentioned secretly multiple times, but it is a story spoiler. So story spoiler warning, big flashing text, whatever. Story. The Book of Life is a book. It's also a card. It's a book and a card. Has the most unique ability and is only used in the last chapter. It allows you to instantly teleport and kill any target you log onto, no matter the distance. Really, it just doesn't. As long as you get the little red icon showing that you're logged onto something, you can go to it. It also keeps the momentum of the character before you actually teleported, so you'll still be flying. If you jump, and if you're flying, and you use it, you'll still be flying. You don't just stop. The other special thing is on the last chapter where the book is actually used, you do not have to kill all of the demons. This basically just means you can skip right to the end. This is like, you go to speedrun.com, you look at the levels, it's like 2 seconds. Yeah, they just skip right to the... Outside of the weapon cards, there's obviously utility cards, ammo, health. Ammo's dropped to the level, health is dropped to the level. There's also these vending machines that drop the guns and the cards and the ammo and the health. Not sure why you'd ever use them, because you can just reset. But maybe you just really, really want to beat the level or something. Oftentimes, if the game is giving you ammo, you need ammo to beat the level, because you need it for the card, and you're not trying to waste the card. As for health, I still think it's useless, because, just reset. All the levels are like a minute long. Now, what really gives this game its speedrunning potential is one simple factor. There's only 2 things that determine a completed level. All enemies are defeated, and reaching the end goal. And, the last one, or I guess the latter, all enemies defeated, you just don't need to do anymore at the end of the game. If you look at something like a famous speedrun, like a Mario 64, I think it's the most done speedrun of all time. The main point, get to the star. Sometimes the star is like 5 seconds, you know, like a cannonless. Sometimes the star is a minute, like you're getting 100 coins or something. For Neon White, the creativity is in making sure every single enemy is dead before reaching the end to the fastest time. Not to mention, game has an in-game timer. Obviously, they knew what they were doing. Now, all of the levels are separated into chapters. 12 chapters, 97 levels. With there being more than just the main set of levels, obviously, you have the boss fight levels. Well, they're still counted, the 97, right? They're there. All the boss fights are one single guy. Story spoiler, Neon Green, this guy. He's evil. Grrr. Once you finish the game, you get a new section on the menu with all the different level rushes. There's a level rush for each of the main characters, at least all of the Neons besides for Green, and as well Mikey. I didn't mention him. He's a story character. He's a little cat. He's a little angel cat. All the angels are cats. There's a story reason. I'm not going to talk about it. And all of these level rushes both have 2 different game modes, Heaven and Hell mode. All have timers still. Whenever I pick up this game, 99% of the time, rather than just doing a specific level or a specific chapter, I am doing the level rushes. Not well, either, so don't even worry about it. Heaven Rush on each character has the same sort of rules to just like playing the game. Infinite lives, infinite restarts, and your health is being reset every time you load into a new level, or you reset. As for resetting, the timer does not reset. Only in the normal levels will the timer reset. Specifically for an example, White's Rush, the timer stays no matter how many resets, because your timer, you know, it just gotta keep going. It'll keep going until you unpause. You got 3 seconds to start, and that's it. You don't get any rest time. You can press pause, I guess. Hell mode, the opposite, only has 1 life, no restarts, no health. I mean, you have your 3 health, but it does not give you any health. The only leeway the game gives you is the ability to discard your katana, which is not possible in the normal game, but it'll give you health, a card, anything like that. I think it also can give you a second chance. I'm not necessarily sure. I've never actually completed a single Hell Rush because it's hard. I'm a baby. The most unique out of all the rushes is Mikey's Rush. It just makes your weapon the rocket launcher. That's all it does. It's kind of weird. Lastly, you unlock the specific Neon Rushes. Specifically, you have to get their gifts for them in the levels. I think it's 6 bars of companionship. You play Persona? I shouldn't say that. Persona reference, Persona game. Companion, you walk up the companion, you give companion gift, you date companion, but you don't actually date the companion. I guess this game's speedrunning could be closer to a Mario Kart Wii, since you're going for fastest time on each level. Most people are doing that. Most people are not doing the White Rush. Most people, they're trying to get a record on a specific. Now, for me personally, I've only ever completed one speedrun in my entire life. I did not use a timer, so it was Mario 16 Star. That's like something everyone does. That's like I don't know. It's like getting your license. Everyone's done that. With every speedrun also comes specific techniques, Skipping, I guess that's, skips. There are skips in this game. There's not like glitches through a wall or something, or doing 2 long jumps up a stair. That's not really what that is. Each single level has a unique approach that makes it different from another. Some of these levels vary from 3 seconds. Some of the levels vary to like 20 seconds at best. Speedrun times, like max times, best times in the world. And as I said before, solo levels obviously are going to have the most runners, because, single level, 5 seconds, you just grind it over and over and over again until you get your best time. A lot of the good times are figuring out what parts of the game slow you down and just getting around them most of the time, or just abusing the cards that just skip 90% of the level and just find out how you can still kill the enemies. Very, very impressive stuff, to be honest. A lot of the items in the game, or just enemies, are specifically made for this in mind. They kept in mind there's actual shortcuts that devs have in mind that they show you when you complete the level at like Diamond or higher. Diamond is the highest, there is no higher. That will give you the shortcuts. Obviously, sometimes you'll see them using this in the actual runs. Most of the time, they have their own little path mapped out. Just grinding it over and over, as I said. Just press the restart button, keep going. And a lot of the levels are designed so that you can use the gun from anywhere and kind of just shoot. just take them out, because, gotta kill all the enemies. Similarly, especially on the earlier stages, you can use the discard abilities to just skip to the end and use a leftover card to take out the enemies from before. Very, very simple stuff. The game really does have any sort of level or run that you kind of want to do. If you want to be the kind of person that is hitting these really tight jumps or these tight curves to skip the large part of the level, very precision-based, you can just do that one. If you'd rather just do a level that's based off the pure speed of how fast you can just move, you got that one. Even if you're not good at the game makes you feel like you're going very fast most of the time, very momentum based. And then you look at the leaderboard, and then you're like 10,000th place. I can't speak. Now, obviously, as all games, there are specific runs that are at the top chain of the difficulty, such as the White's Heaven Rush. Probably the Hell Rush is harder, one chance to do every single level. You can shuffle every single rush. You can either shuffle it, or you can do it straight from one level, the first level, to the end. It says 96 now. I said 97 earlier. I don't know what that's about. I'm not even going to go over that, as in the levels. It says 96 levels in the script, and it said 97 earlier. What am I on? One of them is right. One of those is right. Now, even after all the different types of levels, there's still more. There's the companion-based levels I mentioned briefly before, and another type of level that truly flips the game on its head is the boss levels. I really, really like the boss levels. It's very fun. The boss levels are designed pretty straightforward. You have these green gems. I guess they're just more like see-through green. They have like a little green hue on them, and they're scattered around. You have to defeat them. You have to defeat the gems. You have to break the gems. You have to break the gems. And when you break the gems, it's like a shield that'll go up, and you can hit the boss, Simple Zelda-like mechanics, I guess. But the real deal is the later two fights compared to the first one. You're just breaking the gems. In the later fights, it has this massive area, specifically the second boss fight, massive chapel area. You go there to get the Book of Life in the story. Story spoiler. And you're flying around using the rocket launcher to grapple from one gem to another. Obviously, you grapple something, it's going to break. I don't know if I said that. And then there's the last boss fight of the game, where you're using the Book of Life, and you're just flying around, and it's all about how fast you can just click that little mouse. Since you only have 3 hits, it's mostly about just making the jumps, since if you fall off, you're going to die. You can take a hit or two. But these large boss arenas, it's scaling up to like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds for the fast runs. But for us slow pokes here at the bottom, it's like 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes of pure boss fight, cannot die, like a boss fight. But you can reset at any time. You don't really have to go to the checkpoint, reload the save. You just reset. If we're talking about the actual talented people of this game, and you go to speedrun.com, the best place to look for any speedrun, obviously, where we have all these different categories. Obviously, you have all the level rushes, like White Rush, Red Rush. There's also a category for running through a specific chapter, and then there's the specific levels. And lastly, you're just playing the game start to finish. I think it's called New Game. It's just start to finish. The best thing to do is not to compare your gameplay to these world records, honestly. Because my record for White Rush, 82 minutes. For every single level in the game. Resetting a couple times. Not so bad. And then you go look at the world record. 29 minutes. It's like nearly a whole extra hour of gameplay. Maybe I should just never speedrun a game ever. The leaderboards break the levels up by chapters and show the fastest levels by the chapter rather than just in general, but you can look on each individual level just by clicking on it. Click, it will have a little drop-down menu, there, whatever. Chapter 1 has the most runs, probably just because, it's the first chapter. A lot of these levels are super easy, get a quick time, just grinding it out over and over, get the real path down. And weirdly enough, the Heaven and Hell Rush also both have a lot of runs to them. The Hell Rush and Heaven Rush have a very close time. I think they're both 29 minutes, a couple seconds off between them. I do have a favorite level in each chapter, but who cares? Honestly, who cares? Out of Chapter 1, I think Glassport is probably the best level. I'm just going to skip around. Just some standouts. I think Glassport's my favorite level of Chapter 1. Best time, 32 seconds, Pretty solid. It's a diamond. Best on the 2 friends I have that play the game. And then world record, 17 seconds. So, yippee. To skip around the Chapter 4 boss fight level, the Clock Tower, which is probably the most fun boss just because it's very straightforward, and Clock Tower, Old City area, that's what the chapter's called. It looks like Bloodborne, you know, big tower, looks exactly like Yharnam, like a little teleport. And as always, my record is like 1:20. World record, 29 seconds, so you know. But if I sat around and grinded all these levels, I could easily be top 500. Easy. Oh yeah, man. Lastly, my favorite level of all the levels is the Marathon, which is the last level of the entire game, exclude for like the boss fight. Mostly because it's the final level, as I just said. World record sitting at a cool 10 seconds, because the Book of Life just teleports you anywhere you want to go. You point it towards the end, you'll teleport it, go straight to the book, the level's over. But if you do the level, you know, correctly, it's a very fun level. You're just marathoning through the entire game using all the different cards. Personally, my favorite levels are the ones that are both balanced between aim and pure speed rather than just one or the other, but this game just has everything for everyone. Player types, varying levels, varying difficulties, this game just cements itself as a perfect speedrunning game. A speedrunner's dream. Everything you want. And a lot of the community has made plugins, I guess is the word for it. Maybe like I guess you could consider it a mod. Whatever. They have these plugins, you'll see them if you ever go to the speedrunning leaderboard. Big screen on the side that shows every single time, because they obviously have all the times in the world record leaderboard, and it just shows you your time compared to the others as you're doing it. Stuff like that. Quality of life stuff, make it a better speedrunning game. It basically having your splits on the side of the screen. I just love this game. I've loved it since it came out. I felt like it kind of sort of went under the radar. Maybe I'm blind. I don't see people talking about it. It's not like the next, Undertale. What's an Undertale? It's not like the next Undertale or anything. Now, after all that, I should probably go and actually try to get good at this game. Maybe one day I'll be able to not have 11,000th place. I can't speak. I sound like Daffy Duck when I say numbers. Maybe I won't be at the very bottom of the leaderboard with enough grinding.